Welcome to SelectCon 2. This is Fireside Chat with the one and only Godfather of Harlem, the Grammy nominated, got streets named after him in Harlem, the Harvard Business School graduate, one and only, the true Renaissance man, Swizz Beatz, man. A very good friend of mine. Thank you for joining me. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you. The Stouts of Steve.
I've had the pleasure of knowing Swizz since he was 17, 18. So it's been a minute, probably 2007. We worked together with Interscope and the Rough Riders. What year was that? 2008? It doesn't matter. It was,
that was way before that.
Well, I've known you before that. That's right. Damn. Swizz, damn it. Oh, yeah, I've known you for 25 years, 25 years, man. And
you look better than you ever did, though. That's the good part.
Yeah, well, you know what? You're right there. You look fair. Swizz and I had a conversation earlier about how we both never put shoe polish in our beds. We just let the gray go.
Just let that thing fly, man. Embrace the legacy.
We are not going to put shoe polish in our bed. We swear to you, if you see our bed getting extra dark, that means we did something wrong. So Swizz, I want to start. This is a fireside chat, and I want to talk to you about a few things, really leading to Verzuz and everything you stand for today, with no commission and just the way you approach yourself as a creative entrepreneur. But I want to go back to the very beginning. You as a producer, Rough Riders, tell me how you got started as a producer in the music business, the critical moment, and when your career took off.
The critical moment where my career took off as a producer was actually understanding what was the job of a producer, because I always wanted to be a DJ. I wanted to be like Kid Capri. I wanted to be like Ron G. I wanted to be like 1200 Assassin. I wanted to, the producers wasn't really the thing. The MC was the thing and the DJ was the thing. The producer wasn't even somebody you would look up to on the front stage like that. So I never even knew that I would ever become a producer because I was just so into what I was doing as a DJ. And I remember making the intros to my mixtapes, and making the intro to your mixtape, you had to take loops and come up with the beat for your selected artist to rap before the mixtape started. Doo-Wop was the master at that. He had the bounce squad and everything. So I was like, let me take some guys from my school and let them rap on the beginning of my mixtapes. And then everybody was giving me compliments on the beats and that I was looping up for the mixtape. I still didn't put this as producing. I thought it was just making an intro for my mixtape. And then I just started making intros for so many people mixtapes that I didn't even have to make mixtapes no more to make money. I was just selling the intros to mixtapes. And then people was like, man, that's producing. I remember Y saying that. I remember Chad Elliott saying that. Sheik from the Locks at the time also. This is when he was Warlock too. He was like, man, that's producing. And I remember Y gave Irv Gotti his first MP, and he was like, yo, I'm gonna give you the studio equipment, but you gotta teach my nephew how to make beats. I want him to start to be a producer. And Irv used to be like, all right, no problem. He used to come in there and do like fast finger pressing shit with the buttons. I couldn't keep up with him, so I just figured out how to do it myself. But it started like that, and then I got a phone call from my aunt to come up to Yonkers, to come up to New York for the summer. I was in Atlanta. I got deported from New York to Atlanta at that time. But for the summer, my aunt Siobhan was like, yo, you should come up to New York. Your uncle's a star in a label called Rough Riders, and you're the only person in the family that takes the music serious. You should come up for the summer. And I went up for the summer, and the rest was history. So that was really the defining moment, going to New York on that summer. Mind you, I'm making a lot of money in Atlanta. I'm DJing Atrium. I'm DJing at Club Flavors. I got a gig at this place called SOL where I was the only hip hop DJ, but Renaissance would DJ there, Waggy T would DJ there,
And
and I did the hip
how
hop.
old were you, Swizz? How old were you doing this, man?
I was about like 16 at
Yeah.
that time. I was like,
I
yeah,
I remember you were so
15.
young. I mean, one of the early that just talking about being an entrepreneur and being an entrepreneur, you have to be able to ignore the noise. You have to be able to deal with the haters and deal with all the headwinds and keep going forward. And I remember when you came, back to New York and you were making beats, the beats were hard. And every producer that was out there, the older guys, was like, oh, this kid is just taking the beats from the Casio. He's not really talented. That's not dope. Those are already sounds that are already loaded up in the Casio. So why would we take him seriously and give him the name producer? He's just taking music from there. And they thought it was going to run out quick.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure as a young man, you remember that, hearing that kind of stuff. And how did that affect you on your journey?
One, the Casio thing got out of hand. I even heard I got sued by Casio one time. I never really rocked with a Casio like that, but it was just like something that was making other producers feel better about themselves, But it's just like you could sample from a record, but I can't make music even if it's a preset, because I got a couple of beats as presets that was pre-programmed. Which I Want from Eve is a pre-program, and Down Bottom with Drag is a pre-program. I just liked the shit, and I just did it. I didn't care what nobody said because it was just knocking. And when you get that equipment, you could use every part of it. That's just like saying you're not going to sample the breakbeat on the James Brown record. Yeah, right. The breakbeat is there. I'm gonna take the breakbeat and I'm gonna add what I want to add. It's all a part of creativity. But I just, it was just so new at that time to even be playing with synth. Like producers weren't even playing with synthesized sounds at that time. Everybody was messing with the samples, and I got tired of messing with samples because I tried the samples first, but then Puffer had the sample. All these people had the sample, and I started feeling like they stealing from me when they never even heard what I sampled. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, man, they stealing my stuff. And then so I remember I told Eric McCain from Too Hype, I was like, man, let me borrow one of your keyboards because I don't want to sample no more, because every time I get somebody wanting my track, somebody else come with the sample. And so I'm like, you know what? If I make my own sounds, they can't copy that. They can't trace that. They don't even know how I'm gonna come. And so, I got the keyboard from Eric McCain from Too Hype, the lead singer from Too Hype. And the journey started from there with the synthesized sound.
And you use synthesized sound on Band from TV.
Yeah, that's all originals. Yep. Yeah, that's when I started catching the
That
swag.
Was crazy. That was just.
But the crazy part,
crazy.
that Band from TV was just the intro to the beat. There was another beat that really dropped. Nori and them didn't want me to switch the beat. They just been writing to the intro. I was like, damn, yeah, I like it, but when's the beat gonna drop? They never let the beat drop. They just used the intro. So I guess, less was more. The song is still one of my all-time favorites.
So I played when I break it out once a year. It's like, yo, it's an oldie but goodie. You play it, you're like, yo, I remember that joint. That shit is crazy. When I knew that you had the left brain and right brain thing, I remember we were making Rough Riders Volume 1. First of all, you said Siobhan, shout out to her. She's the COO of COOs, boss. Love her. She was the person who made sure everything was done on time. But we were doing Rough Riders Volume 1, and I remember we had to drop it off for mastering. And you came to Interscope, like on 57th Street, double park, with a bunch of dats falling all over the place. And obviously, Jigga My Nigga was one of those songs, but you had it all. It was like disorganized and super organized at the same time. But what I realized, you must have been 19, was that you were the producer, but you were dropping off the delivery of the entire album, and songs were coming from different people. You were basically running the show, and you understood the urgency as a businessman to bring it all together. And that's when I knew that you. That's the first sign that I knew that you were a business person as well as obviously a creative. But tell me early on, you tell great stories about when you first started making money. What did you do with that money? Let's talk about you
Well,
when you first started making publishing money. What did you do with that money?
well, this is. I said this story a couple of times, but it never gets old. I remember going to ASCAP to get this insurance card that they had. They had this insurance card that they want everybody, all the artists incentivized to come get. And I remember going there, and I remember seeing the young lady that used to always take care of me there. And she, I took like 2 buses, 3 trains to get there from the Bronx. I was still in the hood, heavy. And I remember going in there, and I remember her energy was different. She was like, "Oh, Kasim, Swizz, how that bone?" Like, I was just like, damn, like, she in a real good ass mood. And she just kept like congratulating me and thanking me and congratulating me. But I'm just thinking it's because of like the music that I was putting out. And then she was like, "Yo, how does it feel to be rich?" I said, "What you talking about?" And she was like, "No, how does it feel to be rich?" I'm like, "I'm not rich. Like, it took me like 3 hours to get here. I'm not rich. I would have definitely took one of the African cabs to get down there with the nice music at that time." And she was like, "No, I'm the one that's sending you your checks." I said, "What checks?" He's like, "Your publishing check. I send you your checks." I'm like, "Those checks are real?" So I had a shoebox for like 700,000 in it for like 5 months that I didn't even think they was real checks. I thought they was like publishing clearinghouse checks. My grandmother used to tell me to always put the checks in the shoebox. So I had all those checks in the shoebox this whole time. And mind you, I'm seeing D in the BM, I'm seeing Wad, he in the, everybody's starting to get nice things and different things like that. But I didn't know whether it was the streets of the music. You know what I'm saying? Because my uncle, they always was fresh, but I just seen like an extra fresh start out of nowhere. Like everybody just was on base. And I just was like, man, that was crazy. So the first thing I did when I found out that money was real is what any black man coming up from the hood, coming from nothing would do. I went to the Benz dealership and tried to buy a S500 on a debit card. and I was so pissed because the dude wasn't taking me serious. I got braids in my hair. I'm baggied out. I probably had one of the things on me. I'm just in there with one of my guys, and I'm thinking he trying to play me like I don't got the money. So I'm like, "Oh, you trying to play me?" I said, "No, I want this right now. I need this right now. I don't got no driver's license or nothing, by the way." And so I go to the ATM and I print out to show him. I got like 800,000. I was like, "See, I told you I got the money. What we doing?" And he's like, "I can't sell you the car on a debit card." And then spoke to my grandfather and got with the financial advisor and then got my shit straight. But that was that.
Now, when did you buy the Ansel Adams?
Oh, I bought the Ansel Adams like 2 or 3 years from that.
So your appreciation for visual art was you love Benz, what was kitted out Benz, you love that, but at the same time you had an appreciation for art simultaneously.
Yeah, because I
For
bought my
visual art.
first home in Jersey, 300,000 all cash, and then I wanted to put. I didn't want posters on my wall. I wanted to put art on my wall because it's just it just felt like the right thing to do. I always had a love for art from growing up in the Bronx and just seeing Keith Herons and Fab Five Freddy and all those, Doze and Stay High, all those great artists at that time. So I've always been into arts. And then I just started going to galleries. I just started going to galleries, and I just couldn't understand why the art was so expensive. Like that's what was rocking me. I was like, man, they want like 50,000 for this. They want 100,000 for that. I didn't really understand it at that time. So I was doing more learning, just learning the ropes, like being very inquisitive. And I remember Mr. David Rogaff, who was one of my mentors at that time, was taking the time out to explain to me the difference between a G Clay, the difference between an artist proof, a trial proof, the reason why this Warhol series Diamond Dust is better set than this set because it's matching numbers. All of the stuff. You had the Campbell Soup series as well. Just breaking down all of those different nuances because the art world was different at that time than it is now. It was only one African American that we all knew about at that time, and that was Basquiat. Now there's many. So,
So now, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
So I want to transition to, you love hip hop, obviously. You embody it, every ounce of it from the BX. You have a deep appreciation for visual art. These worlds are coming together. You see the similarities, obviously, right? They come from the same place at the same time. No permission. They needed to be resourceful. You start No Commission. I want to get into this. And it's 100% of the proceeds go to the artist. Talk to me about why No Commission. What about visual art did you want to change? And what part of that change do you see that is equally the same issue in the music business?
Well, No Commission is definitely my baby, and we're about to transition into the part 2 platform of that. But what got me into No Commission to start it was I was curating all these shows in Miami, and I was lending my collection to different shows, and I was seeing how their audience was increasing. I was seeing how the communication of the fairs were increasing. I was seeing how the younger artists that were in my collection that nobody paid attention to started getting love. But then I also was seeing that a lot of artists I cared about in them shows needed a ride home on a plane, needed a hotel room after they just sold like $500,000 worth of work, to the point where I couldn't even buy them any work because it was sold out. And I'm just like, damn, like you just sold out your show, like you can't get home, So it was like small things like that that just started to annoy me and irritate me. And then I just started to figure out like, damn, the galleries win, the fair win, the collector wins, but the artists kind of got to find their way home. But we building all of these big announcements and things about the artists, but it's not about the artists. I was like, well, let's do a fair where it's 100% about the artists, right? And for the first time, let the artists actually really be celebrated and keep 100% of their sales. And then also let's create an entry point for the people that feel like art is only for rich people, because that's how they boxed a lot of our culture out, was by making it feel like we didn't have access to it. So in No Commissions, you can get something for $30 or 500,000. You can be a part of the conversation, but if you go around during Basel at this time when I'm thinking of this, if you didn't have 5,000 and up, 10,000, 20,000, and that's on the small shows, it wasn't no conversation to be had.
So, Swizz, you are one of these most culturally curious people I've ever met, and we share that. We share that now in our conversations and our dialogue. In this example, is the gallery owner the equivalent of the record company?
Yeah.
So the gallery owns the record company. The artist makes the work. He gives it to a gallery. The gallery owner owns the rights to sell that work. And whatever they sell it at, that's their money, and the artists walk away with only a portion of the proceeds. And in your case, you've seen not even enough to get home. They look
Yeah, I'm
bigger,
not
they're
going to.
famous. No, I'm not
Yeah,
asking you. I want to understand the relationship between the art business and the music business, if there is any, as you look at both of them.
well, for me, I think music and art as brothers and sisters, and this is why I have a little bit of a problem, because what make me different as a creative than Kehinde Wiley, right? And I'm gonna tell you what makes me different is that when I sell my track, I get paid enough money throughout the years where I can afford his art without even making no more music from that particular song that I'm getting paid on. He sells that art. That's he don't participate no more, right? So I'm working on something that's called the Dean's Choice that's going to really help that issue. And I've been working with Sotheby's. I've been working with a couple of the auction houses because it's really.
So there's
I
no
was thinking
royalty
that.
for them. They don't get continued. Yeah, it's just done. So just everybody out here in SelectCon, this is the art world. You come United Masters, you hear a lot about the music business. I want to go. Swizz is talking about art right now. He's saying that these artists make their work. They sell it one time. They can sell it one time for $10,000. That thing could sell 10 years later for $50 million. They don't see a nickel. Zero.
Zero. I don't feel good. That don't sit good with me. I don't like it. It don't sit good with me. And we're gonna change it. I just don't like it. Even if it was 5%, I'm cool, but it's something. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't like it. You know, especially right now where African American artists are breaking a lot of records.
Well, you were a big part of
And
that,
we're part
Swizz.
of it.
Swizz, you played a
I
big
know,
part
and
in that. I mean,
yeah, and I'm happy to be a part of it, but I also want to fix the part of it that needs to be fixed. And that's the part right there. Like if Henry Taylor or Kahinde, like these auctions that just happened today and yesterday, you know, I like that the value is going up, and their next shows will show that value. The next shows will show the value because they'll say, oh, this sold at X, Y, and Z for auction, so I can up my price 100,000 or 50,000 or 80,000. I like that part, but I just feel that it should we should be way, way, way ahead of that part. It's
what
2020. Like what are we talking about?
Swizz, I think I think you're 100% correct on that, and you know, you've certainly been the bridge, the connector between hip hop culture and the visual art world. And when just to reference to everybody, when I said Swizz has been a big part of that, there was a Kerry James Marshall, who's a very famous artist whose work sold for 21 plus $1 million. And our own Sean Diddy Combs bought that work. And Swizz was his right hand, helping guiding him through that. And that was a very important moment when we look back in art history, because it was the highest selling living African American artist living price. And the
Still
fact of the
is.
matter is yeah, it still is, and that rose boats for everybody. That rose everybody's value and brought the right attention to that. Swizz,
Yeah,
moving right
that day was a
along.
game changer. That day was a game
Oh,
changer. The market
it was
went
a
up.
celebration.
Yeah, we went crazy that day.
It was a celebration. Um, Swizz, so you got everybody. I mean, you got Grammy awards, and you work with Kanye, you work with Hove, you built the label, all the things that you've done as a creative artist. Why did you go to Harvard? Why did you go to Harvard in your 30s?
Because I wasn't as smart as I thought I was.
How did you know that? No, we're gonna break this down. There are people watching this. They're looking at you. They want to be the next week's Beats. How did you know the self-awareness that you were not as smart as you thought you were?
I was making a lot. Well, one, I was doing mergers and acquisitions with different companies based on the relationships that I have. And I remember going into those meetings endlessly, excited about the partnership, excited about the money I'm gonna make from it. But when I would walk in that room, whether I had a suit on, no jewelry, no diamonds, Kasim Deem on my name tag, they just always put me back in this box of like being a musician from the Bronx, whether it's Grammy nominated or whatever you want to call it. Why I couldn't just be Kasim Dean in that room? You know, they would only talk about like musical things, and I'm like, this is not a musical conversation we're having about this company or period. And the first thing that hit me was what we like to use in our culture a lot is the race card. It's like, oh, they doing that because I'm black. And then I just didn't want that to be an excuse. So I started asking some other people why they think that was happening. And one of my friends, who's super big person, said, "Swizz, I don't think it's a racial thing. I think that they know that you don't understand the language, so they don't want to offend you. So they're talking about things that you can comprehend." And that shit just made so much sense to me. What? Like I couldn't. And by the way, I was in the air when I was having this conversation, and he said, you know, there's a class that you can take. It's called OPM, Owners President Management. It's at Harvard. It's a very hard class to get in, but you should try it. This will help you with your situation. I called Monique from the plane. I was like, look up everything for this class immediately. Harvard turned me down 3 times. You know, and the last time I tried, they turned it down, and then they called back in 2 hours and said that a spot opened up. And to get in this class, you had to be a part of a company that earns 300 and something million a year. So at this time, I was a shareholder in Monster Electronics. At that time, I was the only shareholder besides outside shareholder at that time, which made me eligible to take this Owners President Management class. That class was amazing. The 3 years I did was super amazing, but I took another class called Launching New Ventures, was only 3 weeks. Now that class, that's where I built No Commissions from. That's where I built the layout for the Dean Collection. That's where I built, you know, the thought behind Verzuz, the way that we doing things. That right there, that class showed me a lot. But going back to the initial.
So hold on one second. I'm sorry. I got to just. He's telling everybody everything. I mean, I got goosebumps. You're telling everybody everything. You're not hiding it like they hid it from you, like they hid it from me. We got to give it all. Yeah. I remember Jay said something years ago, man. He was on 106 in Park, and he said, my job is to open the door and leave it open so everybody can come in. That's what you're doing right now.
I love doing that.
Say the class again, Swizz. Say the class again. What's the class in 3 weeks that got you lit?
Lit. It's called Launching New Ventures. And if you want to warm up before launching new ventures, you get a book called The Lean Startup. It shows you how to start your business up and be lean about it and give you great examples. So read The Lean Startup and then go online and see how you can apply for launching new ventures.
Just warm up this microwave oven.
Just warm it up. just getting mowed, you know,
Yeah,
just getting mowed on
I
their
get,
ass.
I get it, and I understand. So you come out of that, and you now have everything that you've done in music. You don't lose an ounce of your creativity, obviously, and now you're applying business acumen at the highest level, and you're walking in those same rooms. What's happening now when you walk in those rooms, Swizz?
Well, first of all, I got kicked out of every school in the Bronx, which is why I had to migrate to Atlanta and had a hard time there. It never was for academic reasons. It was just uh, street reasons and just, you know, the lay of the land. But to be able to complete OPM and then also have a case study done on me was a true blessing because, you know, they're now teaching my story in Harvard um, to the masses. And I never thought that, you know, my life can be taught to other students at a school like that or in a school period because my life wasn't, it didn't start out as the best thing, you know, and that's why I always say sky's not the limits, it's just the view. You know, why should the skies be our limits? You know, there's footprints on the moon. They want you to think the sky's the limits, but come on, man. You know, like we know that there's other worlds out there and we have to explore those things, you know. So before you get to the next question, I just wanted to just say that part right there because that was like a real
Swiss,
serious part.
what I want, Swiss, the goal here is for you, honestly, you know, my biggest thing is I went to 5 different colleges and dropped out of 5 different colleges. And um, I, I feel like, as regular can get, but it was, things I've learned through life experiences and being told no and going through the crash course that hip hop provided me that's taught me resourcefulness and the things that I know now. And I feel like everybody has that opportunity in front of them. At least I want to believe that. I want to really believe that. And formalized education is fantastic, but nothing beats understanding the value of resourcefulness. Nothing. I remember when I first started my business, I'd say to people, you know what to do, just make it happen. I used to hear Andre Harrell say that all the time. The late, great Andre
Yeah,
Harrell say, make it happen. And I'm like, I understand exactly what that means. But I know
yeah,
when you say that to certain people, they look at you with a confused face like it's an incomplete sentence. And I'm like, that's a complete thought. Make it happen is a complete thought. You're
big time,
saying you made it happen. You got told on the plane, the disrespect was real.
real.
Somebody told you a class about Harvard. You got turned down 3 times and you figured it out. And you figured it out. Now,
Yeah,
I want to get to Verzuz because you had this idea for many, many years. And I remember talking to you about this idea, and, you know, the world wasn't ready for it. The creatives, their pride, you wanted it always to be a celebration of an art form. They always wanted to see it as a competition. You would keep saying it
yeah,
was a celebration. They kept saying it was a competition. The word versus was almost confusing. They didn't understand what you really meant by it.
yeah,
2 years ago. 2 years ago.
yeah.
And yeah, oh yeah. And I remember when you first, and I was talking about this when you first went against Just Blaze, Timbaland. I was like, I'm a Tim as a producer. I think he's outrageous. I'm like, Swizz, you're a talented man. I love you to death. You're going to the end of the pool. This guy puts
He
three
said, Tim
changes in
gonna
the beat.
fry your fish.
And I just love the fact that you and Timbaland are working together. But when you guys did that and the pandemic hit, You guys did that. The pandemic hit. What was running through your mind with that idea in the pandemic? Did you connect it like this is the moment?
No, not out the gate. Not out the
Because
gate.
during that time, you had it for a year before that. What made it you put the gas on right there?
The people put the gas on it right there. You know, the fact that me and Tim went live with no promotions right then and there. Tim kind of like egged me on. He started playing beats and, you know, kind of like challenging me, you know, to get back in the Verzuz spirit. And then I got back in the Verzuz spirit. And then not even an hour later, we was on live and with 30,000 people. So at that time, 30,000 people on live was a lot of people. You know, it wasn't like that was huge. Then we was like, damn, we got 30,000 people. You know, because Instagram Live wasn't really made for the masses. It was made for friends to chat. It wasn't made for what we're doing now, which is why it crashed the time that it did with when we did it. You know, when we continue to do it. But
It crashed a few times with you guys. You
yeah,
guys,
a few legendary times.
oh, yeah.
A few legendary times. But you know, the thing that I love about Verzuz is you know, you can go back and see me and Kanye on stage in
Hot 90
2006.
Summer Jam. Summer Jam,
Yeah,
yeah.
Summer Jam. I always felt that the producers needed to celebrate, and Verzuz gave us a chance to have the writers and producers celebrate in the beginning. And you know, a lot of the writers and the producers, when we started doing it and it started getting moving, a lot of them wanted to go a different direction, which made us switch to the artists as quick as we did. You know, now the writers and producers are really understanding Verzuz and the Verzuz effect
Why,
and what it
Swizz? So
really
why did
means.
the so let's take our time with this. No, we gotta take our time with it. I'm not gonna let you just get to that. The writers and the producers, the producers always should. I say that producers, you know, the producers are the therapists for artists. Feel like
Facts.
when you got it, when a relationship, when a producer and an artist have a great relationship, the producer is like their therapist. They talk to you about everything. You have to unearth it all, and then that's how you make the joints. That's how you make confessions. That's how you make these. You know, women would tell you their hairstylist is their therapist. Like you know, people in your life that to get the best out of them, it requires a connection that's at a higher level.
Yeah.
And the art of a producer is to get in there and do that. So now you want to celebrate these people. Was it because you're a producer, you believe that producers initially were like, I could do this? Or you and Tim, like maybe, what was the, everyone should have been doing this. No, there was nobody shining a light on these dudes. People didn't even know what Sean Garrett looked like outside the industry. As an example, Jonte Austin, I've known him since he was 13 years old. No one knew who this man was playing them joints. Why were you
I know
getting
now.
these this? They definitely know now. They definitely know now. He's a great young man. Why, Swizz?
Well,
What
you
was the
know, I think,
hesitancy?
and I'm gonna keep it all the way 1,000. Um, it's all being a producer has always been a competitive sport. You know, it always been competitive. Me and Tim are super cool, but I can tell you that me and him was very competitive with each other. You know, me and Just Blaze ultra competitive with each other, and I think that once we started taking off and it started taking off, you know, a lot of people was thinking that it was going to only be up to them for us to keep moving the way that we was moving, you know. So, and I'm not going to really harp on it, but like a lot of people was acting like suckers, you know what I'm saying? Like a lot of people was just being selfish and they was acting like suckers and not really being about what they say they about when it was coming to the smoke, although they was promoting the smoke, or although they was talking mess about the smoke, they telling other people how they supposed to do the smoke, and then, you know, when it comes to them, they got all the excuses in the world. So I'm not going to take it personal, but I'm going to keep it real. And so me and Tim was like, yo, we just going to keep it dancing, you know? And what's meant to happen on Versus will happen. You know, the universe is in control of this anyway. You know, so we're not forcing anybody to do anything. That
Well,
must be your
Swizz,
daughter.
you know, it's you funny. You are
It's
intuitive.
see the daddy laugh.
That's very, well. You're a Virgo. You read Virgos. Forget it. You the thing that you said there that stands out to me is you're pushing the culture forward, and people are scared of competition. They don't realize what they realize when you look back at it. Nobody lost. Everybody
Nobody
won.
back,
Nobody
and that's what
lost.
we try. And that's what we try to tell everybody.
Nobody lost. But you
There's
did
no
something
big
like a
eyes and
tech
little
company.
U's.
Hold on, time out. You did something like a tech company. You failed fast. You guys did a couple big. Then you went and did the one with Ryan Tedder and I forget the other kid. It didn't work. It didn't work at the mass numbers that you think, and you got out of that and you went back again. And not everything is for everybody. Failing
But
fast.
let me give you a point on that one. We never curated that one, and Ryan Tedder and them were super friends of ours, and I respect their work. They kind of
Ryan's
like,
awesome.
yeah, and they should have went crazy, but they did jump in line with it, and then, you know, being that Tim side of it was more of a pop side, and he comes from that, and we then did verses that I asked to be done with hip hop with RZA and with RZA and
And
DJ
Primo.
Premier and things. So I was like with Primo, and so I just felt like it was only I had to be a good partner and honor Tim's wish in doing that because they was going to do it anyway. So Tim was like, "Yo, they going to do it," and like they, you know what I'm saying, like they got a big audience, so we might need to have them just they're gonna have to put the verses on there and show us the respect. So I was like, all right, whatever you want to do, but that's
Well,
not
hold on. There's two
something
things
I
here.
would have did. I wouldn't have did that one yet.
So I just want to say this. This is important. My only point here is the following. I get out of that. So, entrepreneurs, you got a partner. You believe that your partner's idea is not going to work. That's your partner, 50-50 partner. Your partner gives it a shot. It doesn't work, you move on. You don't look back, you move on. That's what relationships are about. That's what partnerships are about. And that's the one thing from entrepreneurs who build companies together. You're going to always do that. You're going to test, you're going to fail fast, you're going to learn. That's my only point there. Not the
Yeah,
fact that Ryan Tedder is
and I
one of the
promoted
greatest
it,
writers
and I
of all time.
promoted it as well. I didn't just leave him
Yeah,
by himself with it. I promoted it too. Like, yo, we gonna stand behind it. Let's stand behind it.
yeah. And then you go, boom, right into Jamaica. And I know Tim really well. That's not his bag. He trusts you. You go right into that bag, boom, home run. These are how this things work. This is how you build great companies. Swizz, I just got to tell you, you and Timberland have done so much to bring life and energy back to catalog in the record business. The record business has moved into a frontline business. You know, anything that came out in the last 18 months goes like this. Things longer than that, slow. You guys are bringing back moments, memories, feelings to the catalog and reminding people the great music that they grew up on, the great music that provided them memories and things in their teenage years or their 20s that helped shift their lives, got them out of some key moments. And that's the one thing from Versus that I got out of it. But more importantly, why I wanted to have this fireside chat with you is because if you follow when you started this story, coming back at 16 to New York, banned from TV, haters on the Casio, to the phone call on the plane, to Harvard, to art, and to Versus. When you look at yourself and you look at that climb, tell me what you want to tell every young, creative rapper, singer, songwriter, producer. What do you want them to get from that story?
Man, you know, life begins at the end of your comfort zone. You know, I could have easily been cool as a DJ. That's where I would have stopped. I could have easily been cool as a producer, Grammy Award winning producer. That's where it could have stopped. Or I could have been curious of the world. Notice I said world because a lot of people think America is the world. America is a place in the world. You know, I think that my travels and my openness, being open-minded to be curious just about everybody else's culture, what's happening, what's working, what's not working. I think that gives me a lot of advantages when I come back home. And a lot of people might not be able to get on a flight, but everybody got a phone and everybody got a computer. So you can mentally go on that flight and find out things that's going on and see what interests you and see low-hanging fruit. See what, people think I'm laughed at me for having a camel racing team, and the next 3 to 5 years, they're going to understand, what that meant, being the first American and African-American to ever own a camel racing team. It's something I enjoy. I thought it was fun. And it's a part of culture. It's just that we're not taught that side of culture. You understand? That side of culture was happening in Africa, Egypt, and all these different places. But we're not taught to celebrate and love those things from the Middle East and from Africa and those different areas. We're taught to speak negativity and stay away from that. Me, I like to be on ground and go see certain places in Africa, go see places in the Middle East, go travel and be in places that I know people are not even going to want to go, and come back with the goods, and come back with the knowledge and say, no, you know what? You should probably check this out. You should probably check that out. And just keep your palate just fresh. Like I can't do the same thing every day. I want to just have fresh ideas because my mind is very, very, it's on a very serious, like, you see what it just did to your screen? Like that's how my mind looks, like your screen right now. So I just put that energy there and it just froze your screen. So I just
Swizz, man, first of all, thank you so much for taking the time out. I know you building, you rocking and rolling, taking the time out to give the gift of information to all the people out here who registered for SelectCon. This is on Twitch, man. This is a lot of people watching this right now. And it's all for free. It's all giving people the education. You gave of yourself. You gave a lot of yourself, and I appreciate that. That's what this is all about. So thank you for that. And I am, I tell you all the time how proud I am, of you. And I say that as a person, not because I'm slightly older than you, but because I've watched your growth as a man, from that kid dropping off the DATs of the Rough Rider album to, being this guy today that's respected in every part of this earth for everything you've contributed to help shift in the world, man. So congratulations to you and God bless.
Thank you. Blessings to you, and thank you for always being the voice and being the man behind the scenes. I always tell you to get in front of the scenes, but your humility keeps you at a space that that many would never do. And I've watched you the same way you watched me. I've watched you behind the scenes of the biggest. I've seen the work you've done with Jay. I've seen the work you've done with LeBron. I've seen the work that you've done with your label and taking artists to the next level, and even this talk right here and your endless work, and and just always being there from the Kid and Play days to now sitting here talking about Verzuz. So congratulations to your growth, UnitedMasters, and everything that you have going on. That's super huge. Your agency, for you to have an agency that's African American owned, to be the #1 leading in the business ever since, even way before people even understood what that mean. When you did the AI and Jada Kiss commercial, we can go on and on and on. So I could reverse this whole thing and interview you next. So
Yeah, of course. I thank you so much, man. It's very kind. Wish you and your family really well. Blessings to you, brother.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right.
Cheers to better years.